Yes, Eagles fans, the Philadelphia Eagles are once again stealing the spotlight in the latest headlines. And let's be real, Howie Roseman keeps proving year after year that he's one of the smartest GMs in the entire NFL. The fans are absolutely loving every move he makes. Before I jump into the first news update, I want to throw a question your way. What grade would you give Howie for everything he's been doing so far? I'll tell you mine right now. An A+. Actually, 1,000 out of 10. Honestly, I haven't felt this excited in decades. So if you feel the same way, say it with me. Thank you for everything, Howie. A lot of people believe this could be the year for another Super Bowl. And you know what? I don't doubt that for a second. We're ready to get there. Oh, and before we move on, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps grow our green and white community. All right, now let's dive into the first big news. The Philadelphia Eagles have officially locked in their initial 53-man roster for the 2025 season after weeks of training camp and 3 preseason games. And as always, it comes with its fair share of surprises and tough decisions. Every team had to trim down from 90 players to 53, and while some cuts were expected, others have left fans questioning the strategy and direction heading into opening night against the Dallas Cowboys at Lincoln Financial Field, where the Birds will raise their second Super Bowl banner. One of the more eye-catching moves was the release of long snapper Charlie Hewlett. Now, before anyone panics, this is likely a temporary maneuver. Hewlett is a vested veteran and doesn't have to go through waivers, which means the Eagles can stash him on the practice squad and bring him back before Week 1. This seems like classic roster gymnastics designed to open a spot for depth at another position while ensuring they don't lose anyone valuable to waivers. Given that Hewlett had established chemistry with Jake Elliott and punter Braden Mann, don't be surprised when he's back handling snaps soon. On the defensive side, Patrick Johnson was let go despite standing out in the preseason. Johnson flashed both as a pass rusher and on special teams, which makes his release a little surprising. The Eagles will likely hope to bring him back on the practice squad if another team doesn't scoop him up. Offensive tackle Kendall Lamb also didn't survive cuts, and this was expected after the team traded for Fred Johnson. Lamb had positional flexibility, but was overpowered too often against backup edge rushers. Wide receiver Terrace Marshall, cornerback Perry Nickerson, and return specialist Avery Williams also failed to make the roster. Nickerson in particular impressed during camp and preseason, but the numbers game at cornerback pushed him out. When it comes to special teams, though, the bigger question is who exactly will handle kick and punt returns. With both Avery Williams and
Anaya Smith cut, that role is still up in the air. Smith's release may have been the most surprising among the wideouts, considering he flashed with a punt return in the preseason opener and caught touchdowns in back-to-back preseason games. But after the trade for John Mechie and the emergence of undrafted rookie Darius Cooper, Smith found himself on the outside looking in. Cooper's story is one fan should love, a UDFA from Charlton State who played well enough to earn a spot on the 53. The Eagles also moved linebacker Nakobe Dean to the PUP list as he continues to recover from patellar tendon surgery. Dean himself hinted at a Week 5 return on social media, which would be a remarkable recovery timeline. Once he's back, this could become one of the deepest linebacking groups the Eagles have had in years, featuring Zach Bond, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., Jihad Campbell, and Smail Mondon. That depth could be crucial as Vic Fangio molds this defense. Meanwhile, rookie offensive tackle Miles Hinton was placed on injured reserve with a designation to return. The team is clearly invested in his long-term development, with some speculation that he could eventually be groomed to succeed Lane Johnson. Lane himself admitted that another Super Bowl ring could push him toward retirement, so the Eagles may already be preparing for the future on the right side of the line. On the flip side, the team showed a clear commitment to youth at other positions. Cameron Williams, Trevor Keegan, and Brett Toth all made the final roster, while defensive linemen like Ty Robinson impressed enough in preseason to solidify their spots. The Eagles balanced that by keeping proven veterans where experience is crucial, like edge rusher Agbo Okoronkwo, who has shown productivity with both Houston and Cleveland before coming to Philadelphia. His inclusion over Antoine Power Island reflects the team's desire to keep consistent pass rushing production. The roster now officially features quarterbacks Jalen Hurts, Tanner McKee, and Sam Howell, running backs Saquon Barkley, Will Shipley, and A.J. Dillon with Ben Van Sumeren as fullback, wideouts A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith, Jahan Dotson, John Mechie, and Darius Cooper, and tight ends Dallas Goedert, Grant Calcaterra, and Keelan Grandson. On the offensive line, both Jordan Mailata and Landon Dickerson anchor the left side, with Cam Jurgens, Lane Johnson, Tyler Steen, and depth from Matt Pryor, Fred Johnson, Cam Williams, Trevor Keegan, Brett Toth, and Drew Kendall. Defensively, the interior is stacked with Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Moro Ojomo, Gabe Hall, Ty Robinson, and Byron Young, while the edge unit features Nolan Smith, Jackson Hunt, Azeez Ojulari, Josh Uche, and Okoronkwo. In the secondary, rookies like Quinyon Mitchell join experienced names such as Adoree Jackson, while safeties Reed Blankenship, Sidney Brown, Tristan McCullum, and Andrew Makuba round out the group. This is just the initial 53, though, and history tells us this roster will change before kickoff against Dallas. But as it stands, Philadelphia has once again walked the line between developing youth and relying on trusted veterans. The big question is whether these decisions, particularly at wide receiver depth, linebacker health, and special teams returner, will hold up when the season begins. So let me throw it over to you. What do you make of this initial Eagles 53-man roster? Do you agree with the moves at wide receiver and special teams, or do you think cutting players like Ainias Smith and Patrick Johnson was a mistake? The reality of the NFL is that rosters in late August are never truly final, and the Eagles know that better than anyone. This initial 53 is only a snapshot, a temporary arrangement before more adjustments come as the season approaches. That's why Howie Roseman's fingerprints are all over this roster construction. We've seen him maneuver cuts and re-signings before, manipulating the rules to maximize roster flexibility. For example, the decision to cut Charlie Hewlett without carrying a long snapper into the 53 wasn't a gamble. It was calculated strategy. Veterans like Hewlett can be released and brought back seamlessly, while younger players exposed to waivers might be lost forever. This is where Roseman excels, protecting long-term assets while buying time to finalize the lineup for Week 1 against Dallas. One of the strongest storylines here is the defense. Philadelphia's front seven has been rebuilt with a mix of youth and experience, and Fangio's fingerprints are evident. Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis are expected to anchor the middle, but the emergence of Ty Robinson during preseason deserves mention. Robinson was disruptive nearly every time he stepped onto the field, showing power at the point of attack and the kind of motor Fangio loves in rotational linemen. Combine him with Byron Young and Moro Ojomo, and suddenly the Eagles have interior depth that can rotate in waves, keeping everyone fresh for the long grind of the season. On the edge, the team refused to part ways with young talent like Azeez Ojulari, despite speculation. Ojulari is only 24 and already has productive stretches on his resume. Letting him go would have been short-sighted, and the Eagles wisely kept him. The linebacking core also deserves credit. For years, Philadelphia fans have complained about neglect at this position, but look at the group assembled now. Jeremiah Trotter Jr., Smell Mondon, Jihad Campbell, Zach Bond, and eventually Nakobe Dean once he returns, gives the Eagles a versatile, athletic unit that can match up with modern offenses. Campbell and Mondon especially looked sharp in preseason, diagnosing plays quickly and showing sideline-to-sideline range. It's been a long time since fans could feel confident about linebacker depth in Philadelphia, but that